Often when you're writing a book, you kind of you cast it in your head as a kind of a movie idea. Now it's difficult with that. Sebastian is 17 years old and Princess Kerin is 15. So really, I think they'd have to be played by unknown characters. There's a kind of a funny part of me that thinks that Princess Kerin sounds very like Keira Knightley in my head. And Cornelius, who's a tiny little guy, has the voice of Brian Blessed, who's this huge actor with the big beard and everything. I'm sure he's still around, and I always heard his voice in my head whenever Cornelius was speaking. My favourite book as a child was a book called Something Wicked This Way Comes by a writer called Ray Bradbury. Now, I can very vividly remember at the age of about 13 or 14 sitting down, reading the book and thinking, wow, that's what I want to do. With my life, I want to write. I want to do the sort of things that Ray does. Consequently, the first attempts I had at writing came out very much like watered down Ray Bradbury. I think that every writer, when they start, they have to write out of themselves the person that influenced them. We're all influenced by other writers in our work, and it takes time to develop your own voice, but that voice is the important thing, and when you've got that, you're on your way. I think that every book that you write has influences. I mean, often people have said to me, oh, that's a bit like Shrek, or that's a bit like The Princess Bride. I think the truth of it is that every book that you write will be compared to other things because they're out there in the marketplace. But I always say, well, show me another book that has a talking buffalope, you know, a 17-year-old jester who's not funny, and a warrior who's about that big. My daughter Grace, who's 13 now, she has been working on her own novel since the age of 9, actually. And it's very early days for her, and I mean, she is tending to go over the first few chapters and rewrite them and rewrite them. That's probably my fault, because I've always told her, you know, you never get things right the first time, you must rewrite. And now I'm sort of at the stage of saying, well, let's go on towards the end now, darling, and then we can go back and see how it goes. But, you know, obviously you've got to keep quite a distance from it. You can't sit there and dictate what they should be writing. That would be awful. But I think, you know, to be so young and to be so into it is a wonderful thing. The great news about the book is that it seems to be getting deals all over the place. We're going to be in America, we're going to be in Australia, we're going to be in China, which is very exciting, because I feel that this story is something that any nationality can relate to, because it's essentially a simple tale. It's about heroism, it's about trying to be your father and trying to stand in his shoes, and I think people all over the world will relate to that. That's my hope anyway.